one of our favorite guests. As a matter of fact, let me make sure I get this correctly. The NFL Network went on the air, and he was in the middle of his first season with the Cincinnati Bengals. It's the first overall selection, sitting there, I guess, watching, waiting. Now he's a retiree on behalf of FedEx Air and Ground, a man who had many footballs thrown at him by Larry Fitzgerald in walkthroughs back in the day. I mean, the number of times Larry Fitzgerald threw a ball at this man in a walkthrough and stormed off and then wound up on a reality show singing in a blue hippopotamus outfit. I've lost track. So I'm glad Carson Palmer's here on the show. How are you, Carson?
Rich, I'm great. How are you?
Yeah, that always happened, right? You and Larry Fitzgerald got into arguments, walkthroughs.
Countless times. He's such a prima donna.
Don't you think?
I mean, such a showboater. You know, every time he scores a touchdown, he gets flagged. He does some extravagant dance. He's such a showboater.
Yeah, whatever got into him. He never used to be that way. So, did you ever have a radio show, Carson? Did you ever do that radio show thing on a Tuesday or a Monday or a Tuesday? Did you have one of those?
No, I stayed away from my off days were my off days.
So you never went on the radio like Big Ben and had an opportunity to review things that people thought needed blame assigned and then passively, aggressively went ahead and assigned it to your teammates? You never did that, Carson?
I always felt like, because those every city I played in, those opportunities came up, but I always felt like you're just opening the door for, there's not a lot of good that can come out of it. Only the drama gets brought up, and then Ben gets put in a situation where he's got to answer questions about that, as opposed to the game where they just beat the Bengals. I always stayed away from that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I know. Well, and again, like
unless it was your show, but you never offered me an opportunity.
Well, Carson, I always set traps for you. And they say you'd always stay away. I always set those traps for you. And you walked right into them every time. So then you stopped calling.
Every time.
How's life for you? How's everything?
Great. I'm as you know, we moved to Idaho, where I've bumped into you and had a glass of wine or a steak dinner a time or two, and I can't wait for the next one. Mm-hmm. But I'm in New York City. I got out of the mountains. I'm in New York City. I'm working with FedEx and promoting the FedEx Air and Ground Players of the Year, and it's a terrific honor for myself, and it's an exciting time of the year. The opening, they open the voting just today, actually, and it closes on the 31st of this month. So make sure you log on to NFL.com/FedEx or to Twitter NFL homepage and vote.
Yeah, the Air final, the nominees for the Air Award of the Year, Drew Brees, Mahomes, and Phillip Rivers. Just moments before you joined the program here, Carson, the All-Pro team was announced, and the first team All-Pro quarterback is Patrick Mahomes over Brees and everybody else. I mean, would you? I know you don't want to put your thumb on the FedEx Air Award winner scale here, but this kid has been remarkable. Carson, is he the best QB in the league, do you think?
It's tough. He had the best season in the league. It's tough to crown somebody after one season. But I mean, the guy threw 50 touchdown passes. I don't think the general public and the NFL fan base understands just how many touchdown passes 50 is. I mean, 50 touchdowns. 30 is a lot of touchdown passes, but 50. It was truly amazing. He's a ton of fun to watch, and I can't wait to. You have to wait a whole week to watch him play again, but I can't wait to see him take the field again.
Now, all that said, so it's his first foray in the playoffs. Same with Deshaun Watson. Same with Lamar Jackson. Same with Mitchell Trubisky going into this weekend. What is it that makes it so difficult for the first playoff appearance? And I understand what yours was, but what difference is it, playoff to regular season, that makes it so difficult for quarterbacks to perform well in their first ever playoff game?
Well, it's not that the game speeds up or guys hit extra hard or guys are playing, at a different pace or playing with a different intensity. It's just that you lose and you're done. You lose and you go home. You work so hard to get that far, and if you lose, you're done. And then you got to watch other teams play. I think that's the biggest challenge. And that's the biggest challenge for these guys to not think about. I mean, Patrick just needs to go out and play and do what he did to get here, because what he did to get here is good enough to win a playoff game or 2 playoff games or 3 playoff games. But once you try to put too much on it, and you just start listening to all the hype around you, you put a little too much pressure on yourself. So really, these young guys just need to go out and play their game and do what they did to get here.
So it's not like a different crucible, sort of like, I guess, in the NBA, where it's more of a half-court game and rotations get tightened when the playoffs hit. It really is no different style of play in the playoffs. It's just the mental aspect of knowing you're done if you screw it up or you don't get the execution down right.
Yeah, I mean, these teams are good teams, and these coaches know that they are on good staffs, or else they wouldn't be here, and they have good players, or else they wouldn't be here. So these guys aren't going to, the Kansas City Chiefs aren't putting in a bunch of new plays. The LA Chargers aren't going to change what they're doing in the red zone. They're going to do what they do best. When you talk about the San Diego Chargers, they're going to run the ball with Gordon now that he's back and healthy, and they're going to take their play action shots. They're not going to reinvent the wheel, so to speak, and change what they do. It's an exciting time of year, and I think the most exciting thing about these playoffs is everybody's in it. You could easily say any one of these teams, maybe not Baltimore, but any one of these teams you could see winning the Super Bowl. And I feel like you rarely have that kind of feel going into the postseason.
Why not Baltimore, Carson?
I just don't. I love their defense. I just feel if they get behind and they have to throw, they're going to be in trouble. Where all these other teams, they can run it, they can throw it, they can play good defense. But Baltimore's so built on that defense and that running game that if they catch a 14-point deficit and they're in a position where they got to drop back and throw it, they're just not built that way right now.
Is that because you hardly ran the ball yourself as a quarterback in the league, Carson? Are you just now coming back from retirement and from the retirement chair just being spiteful because of your lack of
thoroughbred? I was an absolute thoroughbred.
What was your 40 time?
My 40 time was great. The problem is that it didn't. I ran 4.68. I could run straight line fast. As soon as I had to make a move, I might pop an Achilles tendon or break my knee in half. I could go when I had to go straight ahead, but as soon as and unfortunately, there were no, just straight past the end zone. You always had to run or juke or get out of somebody's way, and I just didn't have that ability. But you got a stat guy there. Look at the 40 time.
Apparently, what is it, Chris Brockman?
4.65.
Carson
Thank
Palmer.
By the way, you want to know what's hilarious? Larry Fitzgerald, 4.63.
Carson.
Come on. Nothing would be sweeter than if he ran 4.66.
See, he did throw footballs at you in walkthroughs. I knew it. Do you know off the top of your head, Mr. I don't think Lamar Jackson can do it, your number of rushing yards in careers for your career? Would you happen to know your career rushing yards?
50, I don't know.
No.
50.
Come on, you're a tremendous slouch. 301 yards.
Are sacks taken into account? Do I lose yardage on sacks?
No, you had 8 rushing touchdowns.
Okay, that's not too bad. 4.65, 8 rushing touchdowns. It took you 15 years.
I know.
Rich, I honestly feel like you could do that.
Yeah.
If you played football for 15 years, I think you could find a way to score 8 touchdowns.
Well, did you see Brady finally amassed his 1,000th career rushing yard? Did you see that, Carson?
Amazing, yeah.
But did you also see that in the game in which he did it, he took a victory formation knee and made sure that the referee did not spot the ball behind the line of scrimmage, so he did not lose the record of 1,000 yards.
Hey, there's a number of reasons he's the greatest player in the game. Right. He's very smart.
And so before I let you go, the Ground Award finalists are Gurley, Zeke, and Saquon Barkley. Where do you stand on the subject of Barkley over Eli, and folks in New York think they did the wrong thing by drafting a running back instead of a potential future in Sam Darnold, fellow USC Trojan? Carson, where do you stand on that subject?
It's a great question. I mean, I think Saquon is a game changer, and he's absolutely worth the first, second, third, fourth pick. I just there's not going to be another Saquon in this draft, and maybe not another one next year. And the way that position is valued now is you draft them high, and then you let somebody else pay them. Because once they hit that kind of 27, 28, 29 age, then they start, the production drops and their contracts start to go down, and everything's kind of set up right now the way the league and that position's valued to draft one high, and you give them a ton of carries and you get everything you can, and then you let somebody else pay them, and that's kind of Unfortunately, that's kind of what's happened to Le'Veon Bell. Is he's produced, and then when it's time to get paid and sign a long-term deal, they're just not going to do it. They're going to have somebody else do it. But I like the pick. Eli felt like he had another year left. The team felt like he had another year left. The defense had a great year the previous year, so they thought they might have a shot. Unfortunately, it didn't work out for them. But they'll probably get one more year out of Eli, but they'll have Saquon until that rookie year deal or that rookie contract is up, and then they'll move forward.
Do you have a couple quick hitters for you in the college football world, Carson? Do you have any 2 cents on what's happened to the Pac-12? And obviously USC is suddenly now on a down and out, despite having the ability to recruit the people that Clay Helton can recruit. Do you have a theory on this at all?
I think it's just cyclical. Unlike the SEC, the Pac-12 has some years where, USC is good, UCLA is good, Oregon's good, and there's always like an outlier, like a Washington State or in Arizona. It's just cyclical. I think, it won't be forever. It won't be for 5 years. I think within the next 5 years, you'll have a team out of the Pac-12 going to the playoffs, and then another team going to a big bowl game. So, I don't think all of a sudden everybody's leaving the West Coast and going to school in the South. I just think it's cyclical. You don't have the same amount of players staying on the West Coast that the South has with all those players that stay in the South. And there's more tradition and just, bigger football, bigger fan bases in the South and the SEC. And so they consistently always have a team in the playoffs. They consistently always have a top 10 team or 2 or 3 top 10 teams, where the Pac-12 is just, unfortunately, it's just a cycle. Every year, every couple of years, there's 1 or 2 really good Pac-12 teams. And then every couple of years, there's no good Pac-12 teams. So I think, in the next couple of years, Oregon will get hot again. UCLA will get better with Chip Kelly, and hopefully SC's right behind them.
And last one for you. Who'd you vote for in the Heisman?
I voted for Kyler Murray. I thought he was the best player in the country. I think, after watching him play against Tua in last week's game, I still felt that way. I still felt like he might have been the best player in the country. Just Tua had a lot more talent on both sides of the ball around him, but he's one of the most fun players to watch since Johnny Manziel's last year at Texas A&M.
All right, Carson. I've just been told by our stat people that Eli Manning has 311 career rushing yards. If you've ever wanted to come out of retirement, maybe just 10, 11-yard run and then tap out, go back to Idaho.
And I'm there. What was Eli's 40 time?
Do we have Eli's 40 time over there, Chris Brockman?
4.92.
Oh, I could backpedal faster than him. Are you kidding me?
Molasses. Molasses. That's what he is.
Molasses.
Hey, send my best to the family, Carson. Let's chat soon.
You do the same. Thanks, Rich.
You got it. It's Carson Palm.
The Rich Eisen Show, weekdays at noon Eastern on Audience.